Through your failures and through your struggles, you learn your strength. Mostly through your struggles. My trauma has brought me to where I am now and has opened my eyes to all the depths of the world. And so I wouldn't erase it. It's made me who I am.
This episode of What's Underneath Birth and Postpartum is made possible with the support of Madi Body and Dame.
Stay tuned to the end of the episode to learn more about our partners and the special offers they have for you. Can you talk about what your style says about you?
I don't give a fuck, but I'm also very intentional. I came out of the womb being fiercely independent and fiercely Lindsey. Creativity was a big thing growing up. My mother was an art teacher, my father was a sculptor. I could shave my head, pierce my nose, and they were like, yeah, okay. It wasn't really for a reaction, it was more doing something that's just for me, it's not for anybody else.
Has your style changed at all since becoming a mother?
Absolutely. I mean, first off, I breastfed for, I feel like 10 plus years, so everything had to be accessible to my breasts in order to feed my kids. Also, time. There's not enough hours in the day with 7 children and 3 dogs and clients. Not as many mini skirts either. Not that I wouldn't, but I feel like I have to be a little bit more held back, which I think is bullshit, because I'm not really sure why I think that. I don't think there's shame around that. It's more, I'm not seeking that type of attention that I was when I was wearing those things before. I did it with intention to seek attention. I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks about me now. And so there's less of a, like having my children made me shift what I care about. And then it has impacted what I wear.
Can you talk about assumptions that people make about you based on how you appear?
I've had pretty privilege my whole life. Like, I've been treated a different way. I've had opportunities given to me that maybe shouldn't have been given to me before, especially when I was modeling, due to pretty privilege, being white, being tall, being thin. You know, I'm not able-bodied, but I look able-bodied. I'm chronically ill, but I pass. Also, that's another assumption people make, is that I'm fit and I'm well and I'm healthy when I'm not. That one's hard, especially when you're dealing with chronic pain and then depression and anxiety that come with chronic pain due to a chronic disease that you'll never be cured of. I have psoriatic arthritis, I have adenomyosis, I have a few things that I'm dealing with, but talking about that when you look a certain way can be challenging because you don't feel seen or heard or validated. I couldn't walk for about a year because my spine, I have arthritis in my spine. And like explaining to my children that I couldn't pick them up, like that gutted me. Like, I can't pick you up because I'm in so much pain. It was like, sorry.
It's okay.
That was fucking hard.
Did you always know that you wanted to be a mom?
Didn't want to be a mom. That wasn't something I ever, I envisioned myself living in an apartment with a bulldog or 2, single, without kids. You know, I had had an abortion when I was 19 or 20 years old. Something I don't regret at all, like not even one little shred of myself regrets it, but I never wanted to repeat it. Fast forward to my mid-20s, I got pregnant, and the person who I was dating, I felt so safe with. I felt like I had known my whole life and was also a father already. I watched how he loved his child, and it wasn't scary for me. And so I felt that I could have a baby, and I did. And then we were like, let's try for one more, and we got pregnant with twins. The next pregnancy was a surprise pregnancy, and it was another set of twins. And then the last pregnancy was also a surprise pregnancy. Having so many babies on my body that, you know, were growing in my body and then breastfeeding on my body, like the feeling of being touched out was a very real feeling for me. And I'm just starting to actually be like, oh, maybe I should start like touching again and wanting my body touched. Well, what is it? 6 weeks, they say, okay, you can have penetrative sex. Mm-hmm. That like perpetuates rape culture. At 6 weeks postpartum, you couldn't fucking touch me. I had twins, I had toddler twins. I'm like, not that I'm not a sexual being, but my sex was sleep at that time.
Mm-hmm. Can you talk about what your biggest struggle has been?
Being an empath has been my my biggest gift and my biggest struggle. It's been this hard balance of like making sure I'm taking care of myself, because I feel sometimes so much about what others might need. You know, I started doing rape crisis work because I was a survivor, and part of my healing was that I wanted to give back. I talk very openly about being a survivor. The whole thing happened so fast that like I didn't even get a chance to process what happened. Not even for a long time. I mean, I absolutely was like, okay, it happened. I think I was out at a bar a couple nights later with my friends. I was like not even rooted in the reality that this had just happened. I'm like, okay, next, let's move on. Like, I don't want to dwell in this. I don't want to live in this place. But at the same time, I had taken a morning after pill. I had taken antivirals. I had to go to a clinic to get HIV medication. And I'm out just trying to completely separate from what was physically happening in my body at that moment, because I just didn't want to fucking deal. Right. And I didn't want to deal for quite a while before I actually like realized I couldn't exist living in this like victim mentality of like self-destruction. I was drinking, I was doing coke. Like it was not being good to my body. Once I realized what I had to unpack, I came to a place where being of service felt like it was part of my healing, and also part of me going, okay, I'm moving on to the next phase of this healing journey. Like I got into birth work because the birth experience I had felt disempowering. When I got pregnant with my first, I didn't acknowledge that it was going to be hard. And so when I gave birth, it was so intense physically, also emotionally, because I felt like what was happening to me, I felt like I was being attacked. I didn't feel like it was me birthing the baby. I felt like I was being attacked. I was being raped. So I literally went out of my body. All of my memories are from above, from when my daughter was born. I just was like, what just happened? Because the sensations were so big. And a lot of vulnerability was happening, just feeling out of control. And she came out pretty fast. It was almost like giving birth to a Mack truck. She like came out, the cord snapped, blood sprayed everywhere. It was kind of like a horror movie a little bit. It was like really intense. And what I had been envisioning was like, you know, some music and like my doula. And like I had this different vision. I just didn't know my trauma was gonna come up. So I'm like, oh, well, if I had this disempowered experience and I had a doula and I was educated and all this stuff, like imagine if somebody doesn't have access, or they don't have a doula, or they don't have access to information, how much worse this could have been. Right? And coming from doing rape crisis work, transitioning into doula work. But then in the beginning of doula work, I was also like still living in my trauma. You know, I was responding to things that were happening as they were my triggers, not the person who was birthing, which is really dangerous actually. And something I had to really pull back and realize that I was doing. I started to go to therapy. I started to really like work through my own story so that I wouldn't project my shit on somebody else. When I step into a space supporting a family, I like check myself at the door. I meet my human needs, but I check my story at the door. I see the best of humanity, and I see the worst of humanity. I see people when they're bringing forth life. I see people when they are mourning the loss of a baby during stillbirth. I see people who are mourning loss of their loved ones. There's so much beauty, but then there's so much darkness. I bear witness to a lot. And I'm almost like, I'm at all these portals and these thresholds that people cross through, right? Without judgment or opinion, like it's just pure support. But it's hard to know that such darkness exists. You know, there was a family that lost a child, and like holding space for that, because it's also, as a parent, my worst nightmare. And being able to show up for somebody that's experiencing something that I'm also afraid of happening to me. I remember even with my last pregnancy going like, how is it that I've had all of these healthy pregnancies and these babies that come into the world? Like why am I able to have this healthy baby? Because I feel everything so deeply, I can be a little bit like Eeyore. Like, oh my God, the world, like the environment, what's happening in reproductive justice, like all of these things, like there's not a moment that I'm just like completely checked out. I'm always thinking about these things. So the adrenal fatigue is huge, and like not giving myself enough moments of joy and rest. But there has to be a balance. You have to be able to find joy. You have to be able to laugh. And like this is something that I'm working at a lot harder now in my life.
When do you feel the most vulnerable?
When I witness a birth as a birth doula, I show up so fully for someone else that I put myself not to the side, but I really create a lot of space. So after, when I get home, I take a shower and like I envision white light rinsing over me, and I do my ritual to kind of close out the experience, because I have to close an energetic door, because that's where I've found healthy boundaries in the work that I do. And I feel so vulnerable because I feel like I get so close to God, being able to like witness souls choose to come in. And so I feel vulnerable, I feel blessed, I feel close to the divine, whatever God is to you or whatever it is. I don't even know what it is to me, but there is something that's so much more, so much bigger than me. And sometimes it's hard though, post-birth, because I'm tired and I get very emotional with my children, and it's because of that vulnerability.
When do you feel the most beautiful?
Being goofy and silly, I feel like I am my best self when I'm not like holding on to so much. And I guess I often don't think about beauty externally, right? Like it lives in here, but I don't think about it that much. It's kind of sad. You're asking me this question and I'm kind of like, shit, I don't know. I think so much about others that sometimes I get a little lost. I don't think about my own beauty, actually. I think maybe I feel the most beautiful in the way that I show up for others, because I know I have a good heart, but yeah, I don't think about it. I don't think.
What would you tell your 8-year-old self?
To take rest, that you have to be able to fill your cup back up in order to pour into others. I would tell that 8-year-old self that you're enough, just as you are, to rest and to show yourself the love that you deserve. Learning to love oneself and pour into oneself is new for me, and it's a journey, and I'll be on this journey for the rest of my life.
That was very, 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 very beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was very powerful.
This episode of our What's Underneath Birth and Postpartum series is made possible with the support of Dame and Modibody. Mom?
Yes, Liz.
Did you know that women are 4 times more likely than men to say that sex has not been pleasurable for them at all in the last year?
I am not surprised at all and would think that the number would actually be higher.
That's where Dame comes in, a leading sexual wellness company that's creating game-changing pleasure products for people with vulvas to help bring your coupled or solo play to the next level.
Being a mother has shown me the importance of drawing boundaries and getting my needs met. The most important lesson of all is that when you're happy, your kids are happy.
All Dame products are thoughtfully engineered and are designed for you so that you can bring your solo or coupled play to the next level. Because new parents deserve to feel sexy too. Right, Mom?
Yes. Absolutely, Liz. Modibody is a global leader in sustainable, reliable, leak-proof apparel.
This includes underwear, activewear, swimwear, maternity wear, and infant nappies. Modibody's leak-proof products have been scientifically proven and tested to repel odor, absorb fluid, and are antimicrobial. Mom, remember like the early days when you were going through menopause and how you would sweat through all of your clothes on set.
Yes, I remember it very vividly. I'd have to change all of my clothes. So it would have been amazing to have something like Madi Body's underwear and apparel so that I didn't have to worry about the sweating. It would just absorb it. We're so grateful to partner with Madi Body, a brand that prides themselves on keeping it real with real people, real bodies, and real stories. Use code STL15 for 15% off if you spend $80 or more at modibody.com. If you're interested in getting Dame today, use code StyleLikeU to get 15% off your first order. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of What's Underneath with Lindsey.
For more episodes like these, subscribe to Style Like You.
If you want to hear more of Lindsey's amazing story, the extended cut is on StyleLikeU Patreon.
Perfect. Okay, and then everyone blow a kiss.
Mwah!